Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Vienna Live with Simeon Morrow and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please go to the LinkedIn Live video feed, the link to which I've just placed in the chat room. Tonight, our featured guest is Los Angeles soul songwriter Cliff Beach, whose new album, Beach Please, will be the subject of tonight's conversation.
Turn around and you'll be gone. I know I might be young, but I'm old enough to know I can't let it slip away. But now I feel so dumb because I thought I heard my name. Ooh, I don't know what to do. I can't help myself. I got a crush on you. Time, yeah, pretty cool. I can't help myself. I got a crush on you.
Welcome, Cliff.
Hi, Simeon. Thank you for having me.
Cliff, so tell us about where you come from, how your musical tastes were formed, and how it is you decided to become, why you decided to become a soul songwriter.
Well, first of all, I think that all music of all genres has soul, and the soul is just permeates through everything. I think music is a universal language that can go places that the otherwise we couldn't go. I originally come from Washington, D.C., and so I grew up in Chocolate City through the 80s and 90s, and huge history of music there, go-go music. My family, they're all ministers in the Baptist church, and so I grew up in the gospel idiom, so a lot of improvisation, learning by ear. But in addition to that, I grew up on a lot of movie musicals. My grandma was really into things like The Sound of Music and The King of I and things like that. And so I learned just all about the classic, Motown, things like that, really just understanding the artistry from a young age. I come from a family of a lot of really great singers in the church, a lot of great harmonies. So there was always music, a lot of love. And really that type of music allows you to think about soul, because the soul is talked about in church so much, but beyond that, from a musical perspective, it's about the transference of feeling between the audience and the person that's pushing the music. And so a lot of times in church, people would spontaneously sing, or a lot of my music involves what they call call and response, because we love getting that energy back and forth. Because it's not about me, it's about the collective, we, in that sense. And so soul music, as I grew up, I eventually went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and that's when I got to start learning about all these other types of music, funk and soul and R&B and blues and jazz. And I learned that they really all stem from the American roots of music, that all American music, as you started with such a great kind of interpolation of classical music with your show, classical music mixed with African music in America became jazz, and from jazz stemmed all these other things leading up to hip hop and modern day music because of that. And so I think, as I said in the beginning, that all music has soul, because there's an energy and a feeling. We're just filters and conduits pushing that out to the audience. And so I just love the exuberance when I'm singing. I feel like it gets me to like a self-actualization or a higher place as Stevie Wonder said, a higher ground. And so that's really why I think that now I wanted to take that feeling of church, but then give it to the world because it's meant to be shared with everyone.
And Cliff, what did your family say then? They're all Baptist ministers, and you said, "Well, I'm going to become actually a recording artist." Did they want you to go also into the church, or did what did how did they take it when you said, "Listen, I'm just doing the music part"?
My family has always been very encouraging of me to be able to create my own path. And obviously, music is not the easiest road, but ultimately, they wanted me to be able to have that, as our forefathers wanted that pursuit of happiness, and to be able to put my music out there because there's so much music already in the Great American Songbook, but we need more songs to be added in there because I believe everybody has an X factor. And what I mean by that is that your DNA, your uniqueness, is something that only you can do. And the worst thing that can happen for me or anybody else is to die with all that music inside of them. And so my family really wanted us to be able to use our gifts. It's like they believe that when God is looking down on us or whatever you believe in, when he's looking down on us, he's like, I created you to do that. And when you do the things that you're created to do, then he smiles and he's happy for you. And so my family smiles when they see me doing what I love to do because they know that I love it so much.
Let's listen to another song. This is "The Work."
If you want it, you can get it, but ain't nothing free now. You gotta put in the work. You can do it, you can do it. Just believe what you say and put your mind into it now. If you want it, you can get it, but ain't nothing free now. You gotta put in the work. You can do it, you can do it. Just believe what you say and put your mind into it now. You won't get it lying in bed and sleeping in, hitting snooze on the alarm. My Lord, good God. If you're gonna catch an early worm, gotta wake up before the break of dawn. Hey now, please see the possibilities and positivity. Just start chasing your dreams, and it will work for you. Cause I know it worked for me. Yeah. If you want it, you can get it, but ain't nothing free now. You gotta put in the work. You can do it, you can do it. Just believe what you say and put your mind into it now. If you want it, you can get it, but ain't nothing free now. You gotta put in the work. You can do it, you can do it. Just believe what you say and put your mind into it now. You know it's hard to persevere through all your fears.
So, Cliff, you have you have a large discography. Tell us, what is the idea behind this new album, Beach Please? Why did you decide that I'm going to produce this album?
Oh, well, a few different reasons. The first is that I had some songs that had never really found their proper home that I had been performing for many years live, but had never had a studio recording. So I wanted to do that for posterity, as well as work with my LA band. So I've had several bands who worked on several projects over the last 10 plus years with me. Beach Please is our 12th release album. And so it was exciting because people who have been playing with me a long time hadn't actually been on a full record with us. So that was cool. And then the album really is a song cycle of three main parts. It starts with talking about love and the infatuation that comes in the butterflies, then leading into heartbreak. And then finally, it ends with the two constants in my life, which are music and the work. And so I thought it would be interesting to show people my own trajectory and life cycle, because ultimately, I think artists, in a lot of ways, can be tortured souls. And so, with that, going through those heartbreaks, talking about deeper things, sharing those emotions from a cathartic way allows us to share those experiences where we feel less alone and more connected to community, even if we're still looking and searching and finding love in all the different variations. And so I wanted people to kind of understand that no matter what, there's always something to look forward to and something to look back to. And so with that, it allows you to go through the cyclical nature of life, but then knowing that music is that through line that allows you to get through it. You never get over anything, but music will allow you to get through.
And Cliff, so tell us again, you said the two constants in your life are music and the work, did you say?
That's correct.
What do you what do you mean by that? Give us a kind of a little overview of of Cliff Beach's daily life.
Yeah. Well, every day. So I've been a student of many kind of philosophers and psychologists and self-help. I've actually written a book during the pandemic, Side Hustle and Flow, which the work is kind of the theme song to that. But essentially, I look at people like a Kevin Hart, who's done a lot of movies and comedy and stuff, and they always, when they're circling up before their shows live, he has this thing. He says, people want it, but they don't want to put in the work. Like you have to pay your dues as an artist to be able to do that. There's so many times where people are like, "Oh wow, that person came from nowhere. They're an overnight sensation." But really that just means they've been toiling in the night this whole time and you didn't know about them, but they've been working hard because everyone has to put in with Malcolm Gladwell says that 10,000 hours to learn their craft. And so I think true musicians, when you look at people like Aretha Franklin or Marvin Gaye or James Brown, they were perfectionists. They put the work in, they put the time in, and they did it because they wanted to be the best that they could be, knowing that that is what the songs dictated. And so for me, the music and the work are constants because they're things that are within my direct control. Because a lot of things that are uncontrollable can make you frustrated with life. Things like winning awards or trying to get someone to like you in a relationship. You don't have control over those things. But music and the work I can always go back to because I know I can make them constant because I have direct control over them.
Wow. And just before we listen to our next song, tell us then about the pandemic and writing this book. And um, so when we look at again, I want to show the picture of the album. We get this. I mean, with the shiny gold, the Roman column and the beautiful woman with the big afro and all that. I mean, we get a really egotistical sense, kind of, that this is, I mean, I guess that comes off from the idea of I guess that culture that we think about the R&B culture and the making money and all that. Everything you're telling me is really based about other people and inspiring other people, leading them, showing them as if you're kind of the example and we're supposed to see, oh, Cliff did it, so I can do it too. Is that your philosophy? Tell us about going through the pandemic, again, writing this self-help book where others are kind of in this whole Cliff Beach ecosystem where they fit.
Yes, and I love the way you said it because that's exactly how I talk about it, where I say if you see me doing it, then you can do it too. I do a lot of mentoring in life. I'm mentoring right now with Grammy U, part of the Recording Academy as a voting member, as well as with Big Brother program. I did a huge mentorship with Tony Robbins Foundation this year. I'm always looking for ways to be able to give back. I think you need to plant a lot of seeds for trees that you may never sit under for the next generation. But more importantly, I had an album a few years ago that has an acronym that says we're all just a kid from somewhere. And what I mean by that is that we all start from nothing. And we come in as this clay and we get molded and shaped by our experiences. And so by seeing someone, you look at the story of a Roger Bannister in the 50s, people said a human can never run under a 4 minute mile. And then miraculously, this guy runs 3:59. And then all of a sudden, now, 4 people later, five, 6 people later, in a couple of weeks, are now able to do something what we thought was impossible. So we have all these people that attempt the impossible to learn what's possible and make that real for everyone. And so when people see me, it's like, I didn't come from people in the industry. I didn't come from any particular know how. The only thing that I had that was different from most people is this theory of hustle. You will never out hustle me. I will work harder than anybody and also work smarter to be able to put a strategy and a plan and goals together to be able to do that. When I started out 10 years ago to make 10 albums in 10 years, I didn't know how to make one album, let alone 10. But I wanted to make this document, Who the Funk is Cliff Beach and beyond, dot, 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 because I wanted to have a big, hairy, scary dream because I knew I would push myself. If I shot for the moon, I hit a bunch of stars on the way down, it was still better because ultimately people will always say, I don't want to do it because it's going to take too much time. But the time is going to pass either way. I want to look back in 10 years and say, I made these 10 albums versus look back in 10 years and say, I wish I'd made these 10 albums.
Wow. And what have some of can you tell us of a success story working with other people? Is there one in particular story where you think, wow, I did it? Because obviously, you've done incredible things. I mean, I'm inspired right now. What about other people? Has that rubbed off? Are you able to tell us some story about someone making it the Cliff Beach way.
Yeah, so an interesting story in terms of collaboration. I worked with a band out of Topanga called Mestizo Beat, and I met them when they were teenagers, when I was in my 20s. So they're about 10 years younger than me. And then through a very serendipitous way, we were recording at a same studio by Sergio Rios from the group Orgone. And we got connected, and I said, hey, let's work on a record together. And so we did. And I started writing this little demo at home on my keyboard, and it was all about self-love and not shrinking to fit for anybody else. And I was like, wow, this is the cheesiest song I've ever written, and no one's gonna love this song. And I sent it to them and I said, hey, do you guys want to work on this together? And they say, it's great, come to the studio and let's cut something. So we worked on it and we cut it and we put it out, and we just said, it's just gonna be out there and a couple people will listen to it, and that'll be that. And then slowly it was like this Spotify playlist picked it up, and another one picked it up, and another one picked it up, and people started talking about it. And then we won the John Lennon songwriting contest for it. And then it just kept picking up more momentum, and radio started playing it. And then eventually, we looked up and we were like, wow, 1 million streams. And we never thought that was possible before. We never had anything like that. And obviously it was like the sum of the two parts, bringing these groups together, was bigger than our individual content. And then they were able to then come onto my label, California City Music, and put out their record, and they got 1 million streams on their own stuff as well after that. And so it was just nice to be able to see how you make these connections that you don't even think about, that these kids saw me at 10 years older and said, wow, we want to become that. And they started doing their own thing. And then we were able to collaborate together, being, from different parts of the same generation. But it allowed me to be able to be open to the universe of the songs will lead me down a path. And every time when I start sharing my dreams with other people, then they say, you should talk to this person, you should do this thing, you should try this, have you listened to that? And so I just put one foot in front of the other. Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take one step. I can digest my life one bite at a time. So just do it one baby step at a time, and incrementally you'll get there.
Wow. Let's listen to The Music Maker.
Of dreams, and only true artists will know what I mean in this life. You gotta write your own lyrics, even if no one else hears it. I am a music maker, I'm a chaser of dreams, and only true artists will know what I mean in this life. You gotta write your own lyrics, even if no one else hears it. When I was young, I was dumb, used to think if I worked hard, everything would work out. I was too optimistic, now I'm more realistic. Try to go with the flow, never understanding what this life is really all about. Difficult when you're gifted, I must be more persistent. I am a music maker, I'm a chaser of dreams, and only true artists will know what I mean in life. You gotta write your own lyrics, even if no one else hears it. I am a music maker, I'm a chaser of dreams, and only true artists will know what I mean in life. You gotta write your own lyrics, even if no one else hears it. Pushing through all the barriers define me, putting the past behind me. I won't let her define me. Pushing through.
So this brings us to our philosophical part of the conversation that I know everyone looks forward to every week. And the title of the conversation is Looking Back or Looking Forward. Cliff, the album Beach Please is a musical journey about letting go of the past. The unescapable irony is how thoroughly the album roots itself in redesigning the past. The songs are clearly retrospective, invoking the music of James Brown and Michael Jackson, and the album cover art is unapologetically nostalgic about the LP record era. Why did you make these artistic choices? Are you paying homage to the past by trying to capture its essence, or are you creating a substantially new music that appears styled in the garments of the past?
That's a very great question, Sonia. Thank you for that. I am a historian of music history in the past. I have a radio show in Los Angeles, Deeper Grooves, where I play all kinds of groove music from yesteryear through today. I think that there's no way to be a great artist. I think you can be a good artist, but to be a great artist, I think you have to be able to pay respect to the past and put flowers and honor and tribute to the people who came before you because there is nothing new under the sun. And so being able to study the likes of James Brown and Prince and Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and Sly Stone, I'm still learning things from Stevie Wonder at his advanced age, and he's still making great music. Same with Paul McCartney, same with the late Tony Bennett. It's like I believe that staying useful keeps you youthful. And so I think that for me, being able to take all that, but to put my spin on it, put my filter on it, make it a Cliff Beach record, it allows me to be able to show people with a canvas and a paintbrush what you can do. Because I think Picasso said it's not about what I see, it's about what I can make you see. For me, it's like it's not about what I hear, it's about letting you hear what I'm hearing through the music. And again, being able to share that experience. So I think it's both. I'm always looking back, but looking forward, but mostly looking forward. Just like with driving, you can't look in the rear view forever because you'll crash. And so I can look in the rear view to learn from it, but not so much that it's holding me back. And so, yes, a lot of times we need to focus on letting go. I let go of a lot of weight over the last year physically. I lost, about 50 pounds. And you don't know how heavy you are until you become weightless. And so looking back at photos of myself a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm like, wow, I didn't, it just felt like my normal at the time. But now, like, it feels like my body has melted. And so now I tell people now I can hustle harder, healthier, because I spent time on the emotional inner work as well as the outward manifestation. And yes, you get to wear smaller clothes and things like that, but it's not about the physicality as much as let go of that emotional weight because you can go so much further when you're not carrying all that extra baggage with you. But sometimes we have a hard time of letting it go, or we think that we've let it go only to find out we only let a piece of it, or we kept picking it back up again. And so that's what we don't want because you're always looking forward to what's next. I tell people when I was growing up, there was an anime show, Yu-Gi-Oh, and sometimes he would have brunette hair, and then he would change, and he would have blonde hair, and he would always say, "This is not my final form. This is not my final form." I've made 10, 12 albums, and I want to make 10, 12 more albums. And every record, I try to do something different because I don't want to become stagnant. I don't want to rest on my laurels. But more importantly, is that I keep a childlike curiosity with everything I do. So every time I'm doing something new, it creates new wrinkles and pathways in my brain. And I know that my brain is lighting up because I get excited and I get energized. And I'm like, wow, I've never done that before. And it can be good and it can be bad. I'm not putting a judgment on it, but it's just like, I want to be different. And we used to, when we look back at history, we used to applaud musicians like a Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye that were different. And now the business became more about social media and more about, can you sound like this person? And it's like, well, no, there's only one Aretha Franklin for that reason. Everybody needs to be able to do them because you can never do you wrong.
Wow. Um, so tell us just a little bit before we go on to our final song about if, as you said, the Stevie Wonder, if he's there, if he's listening today, you know, you think about his generation, all of everything that he's gone through, and then to have you from a younger generation then learning from his music, performing his music, might he say then, well, Cliff Beach, he doesn't know, he wasn't there, he doesn't, he can't capture the spirit, he's just making something that sounds similar. What do you respond to that? What do you obviously you're trying to pay homage, you're trying to make something new. What's going to be the difference, and what do you see now as the challenges in this current generation?
I mean, there's always challenges. Like I said, I think in the current generation, I think it's more about pandering to a certain extent. I think people are afraid to be themselves, and they're worried about record sales and streams and awards and things like that. And they're all great. I mean, I definitely think we all want that. But ultimately, you look at true artistry, you look at a person like Van Gogh, who only sold one painting in his lifetime, who's revered all around the world. So not everybody's going to understand genius. Sometimes you're way ahead of your time. There's an artist, Betty Davis, who was married to Miles Davis, who made amazing funk records in the 70s. She was 10 years before Madonna in terms of that kind of provocative nature of music. And she was completely shunned. And there's a documentary out about her now. But essentially, she was like starved. That she made this great music that really wasn't appreciated. And now, 30, 40 years later, people are sampling it and getting to know her. You have people like Linda Mitrell that Beyonce brought out on her country album, was nominated for a bunch of Grammys this year, an artist that was the first Black female artist to ever play Grand Ole Opry in the 70s. And now she's finally nominated for a Grammy. So it's like these people that you forget, they just were ahead of their time. And so I think we need people who are unapologetic and unafraid to do that, knowing that they may not be well received, knowing that they still needed to get that music out there because things are going to come after that. Someone's going to pick up that torch and carry it forward. And if you don't do it, then we'll never know what could have been otherwise.
As Cliff Beach said, I heard him once say it, get the music out. Don't keep it for yourself. Okay, let's listen to our final song. This is The Way You Make Me Feel.
Hey, pretty baby, with the high heels on, you give me fever like I never, ever known. You're just a product of loveliness. I like the groove of your walk, your talk, your dress. I feel your fever from miles around. I'll pick you up in my car and we'll paint town. Just kiss me, baby, and tell me twice that you're the one for me. The way you make me feel, the way you make me feel. Said you really turn me on. It really turns me on. You knock me off my feet. You knock me off my feet. My lonely days are gone. My lonely days are gone. Ooh, I love the feeling you're giving me. Just hold me.
Final thoughts, Cliff. You've told us, about this incredible journey coming from a family of Baptist ministers, becoming a minister, a music minister, I guess, in the broadest sense, and making this incredible new album. What do you wish all of us when we hear this album, when we listen to this album?
I wish that you would have the joy that I have of doing what you really love to do. And so I hope that it inspires people of all walks of life and all generations to find their joy, it sparks joy inside of them because I think we need that. I think that there's many times in life where that gets beaten out of us by people taking the safe path. But the safe path, a ship that's at harbor the whole time, it's great and it's safe, but it's not doing what it's meant to do. It's meant to sail out in the waters, and sometimes the waters are rough, but it needs to do that because otherwise people won't be able to get from point A to point B, and you could be that bridge. I tell people all the time, sometimes your life is the only Bible that people are going to read. People are looking at you and watching you. And so I hope that this music makes people feel happy, it makes people feel loved. And then ultimately, like the group The Velvet Underground, they said they didn't sell a lot of records, but they inspired everyone who listened to the record to make a band and make their own record. So if I could do that, and 500 people listen to the record and 500 new bands start, then that would be great. But plant the seeds, let them grow. It's organic, so it's slow. We need more crock pots than microwaves. So delayed gratification, not instant gratification, but ultimately, if you chop a tree, even with the dollar effect, keep hitting it, keep hitting it, keep hitting it. Eventually, it'll fall down in the timber. So I look forward to hopefully hearing from people and connecting with people as they listen to the record and share more music with me. I'm still a lifelong learner of music, and I can never get enough.
Let's see how we can stay in touch with Cliff. And first of all, buy the album, of course. It's easy enough. It's colorred.com/collections/Cliff Beach. I'm going to put this in the chat room right now. So Cliff, we can listen to the album again if we like. We can buy it here. Is that right?
That's right.
Perfect. And then we can hear again on hypedit.com/Cliff Beach. You're able to purchase it. So I'm going to put that there in the chat room. And if you would like, as you said, Cliff, you said it would be great if people would reach out to you. However, they can reach you always at Cliff Beach Music. Is that right?
hmm Yep. On all my social media platforms, you'll find me there.
Perfect. And so people should feel free to reach out to you if they have any questions or want to get your book, buy your music, ask you about its meaning.
Yep. They can DM me on any of the platforms and I'll get back to them and answer all my messages.
Thank you so very much to Cliff Beach.
Thank you, Simeon.
So let's see what's coming up. I just want to let you know also, you can find information about all upcoming shows uh, at simeonmorrow.com. And while you're at it, you can sign up for the weekly greeting that I send out on Fridays with my ideas and my insights into the next week's programming. That's simeonmorrow.com. Once again, thank you so very much to Cliff Beach. Thank you to Vienna Live sponsors Victoria and Frederick Mulligan. Thank you to Abby Moser, Agnieszka and Benoit Rivolet and Mary Schlesinger for their support of this show. Thanks to my cousin Mike, a marketer from Layer App. If you're an architect or engineer, they have a really cool tool you should check out. Most of all, thanks to you, our participants who make it all worthwhile from Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles, California. Goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.
Bye, everyone.